Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your materials, your articles, your research, your proprietary notes, and cut straight through the noise. We distill that knowledge down to the essential, surprising insights you need. Today, we're diving deep into a subject that really fundamentally changes how we think about professional employment and, home life. We're tracking this massive shift toward what our sources are calling rotational living. And this isn't just taking a long vacation. This is a highly structured, highly compensated work model. We're talking about intense periods of focus followed by guaranteed extended periods of time off.
Exactly. Our goal today is to give you a clear, full-spectrum analysis of this evolution.
Yeah.
We need to look beyond just the headlines about the money, which is, it's definitely a major draw, and really dissect the mechanics of how this lifestyle works. And, more importantly, the substantial, often hidden, personal trade-offs.
And what makes this so relevant right now is that this model has moved far beyond its traditional home.
Right.
We used to associate this kind of work solely with, specialized industrial sectors like oil and gas engineers out on a platform somewhere. But now we're seeing this structure pop up in highly specialized domestic and niche professional roles. Things like private security, elite household management, and maybe the most illuminating example of this trend, a whole new class of specialized childcare providers.
It really does speak volumes, doesn't it, about the value that's being placed on constant specialized support. The wealthy and highly mobile are now essentially hiring professional nomads to manage their most sensitive affairs.
Okay, let's unpack this shift then. Let's start with a definition, but, with the specific lens of this new RDO professional.
Yeah.
What actually defines this structure, and why is it accelerating so fast across these new fields?
Well, rotational or rodeo work is defined by a very strict scheduling symmetry. You have clear work periods followed by equal or often longer time off.
So like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Or it might even be a full month on and then you get 6 weeks completely off. And during that on rotation, the professional lives right at the job site, often providing 204/7 service, and then they return to their own home base for a totally uncompromised break.
And the specialization component is key here, according to the materials. This isn't about hiring generalists. We're seeing intense demand for high-end personal assistance, specialized security, and the RO nanny, which is just a fascinating case study.
It's the perfect illustration of this specialization shift. A rota nanny provides consistent, specialized care during the rotation for ultra-high net worth families. These are families who often have multiple large residences and travel internationally at, a moment's notice.
So if you're a parent listening, you need to understand this is really bespoke childcare. The sources note these individuals often have deep training in specific high-demand developmental methods, like Montessori or RIE resources for infant educators.
That's right. You're not just hiring someone to watch the kids.
No, you're hiring a specialist educational partner to ensure that continuity and tailored development, even when the family is moving between homes in London, New York, and Hong Kong.
Exactly. And the demand is driven by the employer's need for constant operational support and, frankly, absolute privacy. The pandemic definitely accelerated the acceptance of flexible models. But for these elite families, the core need remains the same. They need someone who is reliable, discreet, specialized, and always available, even at odd hours or during some international emergency. It's a professionalization of the old live-in staff model, but, optimized for mobility.
That makes the logistics incredibly complex, which I want to get to. But first, let's talk about the fuel. What's driving the professional toward this intensely challenging lifestyle? It sounds incredible financially, but I have to imagine there's a serious catch, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That takes us right to the core, section 2. The financial draw and the satisfaction balance.
You've hit the nail on the head. The biggest draw is, without a doubt, the financial windfall. Rotational jobs command premium compensation because they demand premium availability and skills that are just, rare in a standard 9-to-5 market.
Give us the concrete numbers. I saw them in the sources. What is the scale of this financial incentive?
The salary range is pretty striking. For a high-end rota nanny or a similar household manager role, professionals can expect to earn between, say, $120,000 and $200,000 annually.
Wow.
$200,000.
And that figure often represents a huge leap from traditional roles in that sector. Plus, it's typically bundled with extremely robust benefits, full health insurance, retirement contributions, specific paid time off.
That's life-changing money for a lot of professions, a rapid path to your financial goals. But here's that critical aha moment that you pointed out in the research. Focusing only on that incentive is the fasting route to burnout.
Absolutely. The research is crystal clear on this. If the only motivation is money, job satisfaction just plummets, and the tenure becomes incredibly short. How short are we talking?
Sometimes less than a year. The cumulative effect of constantly missing those small, everyday moments back home, a school pickup, a casual dinner, it just starts to outweigh the massive salary very, very quickly.
So the high compensation is really just compensation for presence,
Mm,
for not being there.
precisely. Genuine, sustainable success in this field requires a balance. That time off, the 2 weeks or the month you get, it has to be truly restorative. You have to have a lifestyle that genuinely works for you, not just for your bank account.
Right.
The money might be the initial lure, but the quality of the life you lead off rotation, that has to be the anchor. Otherwise, if you're just constantly exhausted or dealing with resentment from family, that high salary becomes meaningless.
And speaking of anchors, one of the most compelling perks that the source material highlighted was this freedom to decouple your work location from where you actually live.
That is the game changer for long-term planning. You don't have to follow the job. You can plant your roots where it makes the most sense for your personal needs, whether that's for better schools for your own kids, better healthcare, or just staying near your support network.
Your job site is temporary, but your community is fixed.
Exactly. It completely separates your work location from where you choose to pay taxes and live your actual life.
Okay, that brings us perfectly into the mechanics of it all. If you decide that trade-off is worth it, how do you manage the day-to-day reality of this constant rotation? Let's move into Section 3, structuring successful rotational arrangements and housing logistics.
Okay, so success here really hinges on the contract details. The absolute bedrock is defining and sticking to clear, predictable schedules. There can't be any fuzzy lines between being on call and being off rotation. That off period has to be respected as completely free time.
And the compensation package has to reflect those niche skills.
It has to. And beyond the base salary, the package has to clearly cover all the costs that come with the rotation. That means allowances for food, incidentals, and crucially, covered travel and housing expenses.
Managing the logistics of travel and housing. I mean, that's where this gets really practical, right?
Yeah.
And probably expensive for the employer.
It does. Everything from international flights and trains to mileage reimbursement has to be handled transparently. And during those intense work periods, the professional needs guaranteed, comfortable, and agreed upon accommodation.
This feels like a major point of friction, doesn't it?
Hmm.
I mean, if you are performing a $150,000 job that requires high discretion and long hours, being housed in some subpar, cramped room is a quick path to dissatisfaction.
It's a deal breaker, absolutely. And when assignments last longer than a few days or involve frequent moves between countries, professionals need a functional base, not just a transient hotel room.
Yeah.
This is where tailored solutions become so vital, especially in these high mobility regions.
I see the point. When you're on rotation in a major Asian hub, for example, living out of a standard hotel suitcase for a month straight has to be exhausting. You'd need a residential feel.
You would, and the materials highlight that specialized resources like service departments, long-stay hotels, even serviced offices, they become essential, particularly for professionals rotating through the Asia-Pacific region.
Right, so you're talking about places you can find through services like Move and Stay, which sort of specializes in this.
Exactly. These solutions provide the necessary comfort, the amenities, that residential feel, a place to decompress, cook a real meal, handle personal admin tasks during a demanding rotation. It sifts the entire living situation from just surviving to actually thriving while you work.
That changes the calculation entirely. So you're not just booking a flight, you're setting up a whole temporary home environment that supports peak performance. And given how complex these contracts are, and the high stakes, getting the right match must be a specialized industry in itself.
It truly is. The placement specialists, they essentially function as matchmakers for the rotational world. They're critical for vetting candidates, checking backgrounds, references, those very specific skills, and they navigate the complex salary and benefits to make sure the match is sustainable for everyone involved. It's a really delicate negotiation.
We've covered the mechanics and the money, so now we have to face the elephant in the room, the personal cost. Let's dedicate some real time to Section 4, the trade-offs managing absence and isolation.
The primary hurdle is, well, it's undeniable, sustained time away from your chosen support system. You are missing that accumulation of small, everyday moments, school plays, birthdays, casual weekend activities that really anchor your personal life. This is the weight that balances out that high salary.
And the solution isn't as simple as relying on FaceTime or video calls, is it? I read that the tech can actually make it worse by just reminding you of what you're missing.
That's a crucial psychological detail. The real solution involves a conscious, proactive effort to maximize the quality of the time you are home. It's about being fully present, setting clear boundaries during your time off, and just prioritizing those connections over everything else. We saw one source describe it as living two separate lives that only touch down for a few weeks a year, and managing that transition alone is exhausting.
And what about on the professional side? The sources talk about the wear and tear of social isolation. I mean, when you're constantly rotating into unfamiliar cities, or even when you're in staff housing at some remote residence, that feeling of loneliness can just creep in.
It absolutely can. The demands of a 247 rotation mean your social interactions are entirely work-focused. You might make work friends, but maintaining your core social circle, the people who knew you before this job, that becomes extremely difficult.
Right.
And that's where the emotional toll really builds up.
That makes the high salary feel a bit like hazard pay for a mental and emotional risk.
It is, in a way, and the professional have to be proactive to mitigate it. They need strategies to stay connected, whether that's through scheduled online communities, maintaining hobbies during breaks, or actively seeking out support. The emotional challenge is often much greater than the logistical one.
So ultimately, the success of this life hinges less on the size of your bank account and more on the strength of your personal safety net.
Precisely. The biggest takeaway here is you absolutely need a crew of people to keep you grounded. That means family and friends, yes, but also professional support, other rotational workers, coaches, therapists, people who truly get the unique demands of this high wire act. Without that strong anchor, the career is just unsustainable no matter how good the money is.
Okay, let's bring this all together for the listener. Rotational living is defined by these significant trade-offs. It offers massive financial rewards and, these glorious blocks of time off, but it demands careful, constant management of your personal connections and your psychological well-being. It requires a really clear-eyed view of the professional demands and an honest accounting of the personal cost.
It's an economic model built on trading immediate, consistent presence for financial freedom and extended personal time. And the system works because the skills are rare and the commitment is so intense.
But if the long-term success of this work is determined not just by that high salary, but by the ability to maintain a strong support network back home.
Then the final provocative thought is this. We understand the financial cost of this career path, but how does one truly measure the maximum sustainable cost of time and presence when those are the very things being traded for stability? And what is that moment when the scale inevitably tips back toward the personal, forcing even the highest paid professional to finally choose where they truly belong?